Hello everybody, here we are today talking about the Tanev trade and then my thoughts on that. So before we get into that, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So yes, yesterday proved to be a big deal in the NHL as we saw a trade happen between the Calgary Flames, New Jersey Devils, and the Dallas Stars. And this one was a fun one as Tanev was traded to the Calgary Flames. And it is a deal that is very interesting, but let's talk a little bit about what Calgary got. Calgary ends up getting Artem Grishnikov from the Dallas Stars. He is a young defenseman we'll talk about here in a little bit. And then they ended up getting a 2024 second round pick and then a 2026 conditional third round pick, which is centered around the condition being if Dallas makes it to the Stanley Cup final this year, they get that third round pick. So that's kind of a fun thing to talk about there. And then with the Devils, they just basically took on part of this deal and ended up getting a fourth round pick out of it because they've got a little bit of cap to work with there. So Devils playing a hand in making this deal happen. And now we get to talk about the nitty gritty of the trade, if you will. So kicking it off with Calgary, Grishnikov is a young defenseman. He's 20 years old and is going to be a part of this deal that you're hoping works out if you are a Calgary fan because of the fact that you did trade away Tanev and you're hoping maybe for a little bit bigger of a return. But with getting a guy like Artem, he is young and is somebody that is being compared a lot to Chris. Now, I'm not saying that I know a whole lot about him. I do know that he was a former second round pick for Dallas and is playing in the AHL at the moment. He has 5 points in 44 games. And I know, again, looking at defensemen, especially young defensemen, we all get excited about the young blue liners that are putting up a lot of points, but the reality is not everybody plays that style, and I don't want to say anything just yet about how he will pan out, but according to hockeyprospecting.com, they have him at a 13% chance of playing over 200 games in the NHL. I don't know if everything's up to date on that because I don't know, some of the stats look like maybe they hadn't been put in yet, so I can't really say a whole lot there. But this is a player that you're hoping pans out and can be part of the blue line in the future for Calgary. As for the second round pick, you know, you like that, being able to get a high-end pick. I know you would have liked a first-round pick, but still to get a second-rounder is not going to be too bad for a guy that is in his 30s. And then I'm really not a big fan of the conditional third-round pick. It really is asking a lot to say you expect a team to be one of the final two teams in the playoffs, and I know Dallas is a good side, but I just am not a big fan of that. And I do wonder a little bit, had Craig Conroy just waited a touch longer, maybe he could have got a better return. But we're going to talk about my thoughts towards the end of this, and now we kind of get into what Dallas is getting. So in getting Tanev, the Dallas Stars are getting a defenseman that is a little bit under the radar in some categories. I do think it's kind of weird because with the deadline getting more and more close and just some of the names being thrown out there, I'm seeing a lot of people saying that Tanev's overrated, underrated, etc. But we do know this is an individual that can very well be a top four defenseman for a lot of teams. And in Dallas's case, yeah, he likely will be. He is a player that is not afraid to put his body on the line. In fact, out of all the defensemen that have played 500 minutes this season, he ranks third in block shots per 60, which is over 200 defensemen. So again, kind of his willingness to put himself in that situation, that's great there too. And at 5-on-5, his defensive numbers look really good. It's not just the fact that he's blocked a lot of shots. He is first or near the top for Calgary's defensemen for a lot of defensive categories. When he's out there, they allow the fewest shots against per 60 at 5-on-5. And there's some other things too, like scoring chances, which tend to be a little bit lower when Tanev is out on the ice for them, which are all good things. Now, his PK value seems to be a little bit weird because he's kind of middle of the pack for the penalty kill this year. But we're kind of focused in general just about the fact that he can give you 20-some minutes and he is going to probably help your team get better defensively. And that's really what it's all about. I know, again, when we were talking about Tanev, he's not an individual that's going to be a Cale Makar or somebody like that that's going to average a point per game. That's just not going to happen. That's the reality of it, and that's okay. Dallas was trading to get this defensive value and are kind of banking on the fact that he could be part of this missing piece, if you will, or just a little bit of something extra to get them over the line to try to make a deep push and go to win the Stanley Cup final. I'm not saying that they're out there thinking that they are a lock. However, this is a side that was already pretty good. They've got some pieces they're really excited about. Look at their blue line. We've talked about them before. Not too long ago, I did a video about Dallas, and I remember talking about their defensemen and saying, you know, not too shabby here. You're happy with what you have. and now they're getting an individual that might be a little bit older, but with them trading for him right now, he is really more of a potential rental that they really like to see help their odds of making the cup. So all in all, what are my thoughts on this? I gotta be honest, I think I'm kind of leaning towards a majority here where Dallas wins this trade. Yes, he could very well leave in free agency in the summer, I get that, but the Stars, if you think about it, are giving up a young defenseman that is kind of under the radar. You're wondering what he will end up being. Maybe he ends up being really good and you say, oh man, I wish we would have kept him. But then you're in a situation where maybe he doesn't develop to be a top four defenseman for Calgary, and wherever that takes them, then you're just focusing on potentially a second round pick. So if you are Calgary, you're really hoping Dallas does well and then Artem does well in developing and that you can do well for the second round pick. As for Dallas, you're probably making the playoffs and you are thinking, again, we were relatively close to making it to the Stanley Cup final last year. Let's make things happen this year, and we should be a side that is really good defensively, have a good goalie in Jake Ottinger that we've all talked about a lot, and the offense is exciting. So Dallas is a team that you don't want to count out when it comes to the playoffs, and we're all aware of that. As for Calgary, you would imagine that they're hoping for a big haul for Noah Hannafin because of the fact that they have traded Elias Lindholm recently, and now with Tanev being gone, Flames probably are in a spot where they can't completely tank thanks to some of their contracts. I mean, I could see them maybe moving on from them and having to work around some things, but in general, the Flames maybe kind of stay relevant. It's so weird because they're in the wild card spot or in conversation for it right now. But you'd have to imagine going into next season, it's going to be a much harder battle to be able to get there to the playoffs. But anyway, what are your thoughts on this trade? Who do you think won it, and who do you think is going to benefit from this trade just in general? New Jersey, Calgary, Dallas. Let me know all that stuff down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night, and you go love hockey, all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.